My name's Anne Kavanagh and I'm here at the Palace Theatre, Southend, in the Mousetrap. This is the last week of a wonderful tour, so we're having a great week here, lovely audiences. But I'm reappearing in Southend in January next year in the film festival Horror on Sea, in a film called The Widow by Paul Rodriguez, in which I play the widow, Rita. And so much looking forward to returning and seeing that, actually, and seeing the audience reaction to that. So in The Widow, I play the widow, Rita Redmond, who's recently lost her husband in rather horrible circumstances, we discover. We're not quite sure how, but it becomes clearer as the film goes on. And Rita is upset and angry about this and wants to take revenge, which she does. I can say no more. To describe the film, it's an interesting mixture. It's certainly horrific. The tension builds, the use of music is fabulous in that. It's quite surprisingly scary, but there's something about it which is not exactly a comic element, but a witty treatment of the horror. The music helps do that as well, but the very situation, which of course I mustn't give away too much about, the very situation turns the tables on your expectations. So it's quite a witty premise to start with, and it's treated not exactly tongue-in-cheek, but there's that element of it, and it has nods to other films. It's rather a rich mixture altogether. It's interesting. With my thoughts on horror films and that genre, I'm familiar with Psycho, but I still find it quite difficult to actually watch all the way through, weirdly. I scare quite easily. I know there are lots of TV series on at the moment which are sort of upping the horrific element and so on, and I find I'm one of those people that covers my eyes, and I think I'd be like that in the cinema too. I haven't seen many of the more modern horror films because I reckon probably I'd do an awful lot of eye covering, so it probably wouldn't be worth it. But yes, the older ones, 40s and 50s and so on, and sometimes more psychological thrillers, Hitchcock, master anyway, but there's something about the black and white film, the stories involved, they're very psychologically tense and interesting, and it's yes, I guess I prefer those older films rather than the more modern ones. But maybe that'll change now after seeing, because some of those extracts from the other films in the film festival Horror on Sea, I haven't yet been quite brave enough to take a look at the trailers yet, but I will. I want to. It'd be very interesting to see the sorts of films that are being produced, short films. Yes, I'll take a brave step, perhaps into that world and see more and uncover my eyes. When I heard The Widow had been selected for screening at the Horror on Sea Film Festival, I was over the moon. Fantastic. It was done on a very tight budget, as I suppose the rest of the films were as well. But it was filmed very quickly. I think it was about 3 days or so, using the director's home and local businesses and so on. But it was all done with great care, and I was thrilled to see how it had been edited and the use of music as well. And the fact that, of course, looking at the whole thing, I got to see some of the scenes that I didn't see and I wasn't involved in. And I was amazed to see the way the tension was ratcheted up and the effect produced. It's fabulous. It's it's really thrilling to think that it's going to be shown to a wider audience as well. Can't wait. Yes, I'm looking forward very much to coming to the screening in January. It's Sunday, January 25th at the Horror on Sea Film Festival in Southend, and I very much look forward to seeing you there.